Hello, everyone, and welcome to Lessons in Leadership. This week, we're kicking off a new series based on John Maxwell's book, Leadership Gold. Now, this is actually my second recording of this. I previously published a video for chapter one, but I'm redoing it because I had my son watch the video, and he said, it's good, but it's not you, right? It's not your real authentic self. It's not how you really think. And I went back and I watched it again, and I was so thankful for his feedback because it was true. It just wasn't real enough. I know in today's world, many of the things that are taught around sales mindset and leadership, they're presented in a very politically correct way. Well, that's not me. I tend to be a little bit more snarky. And when we do a deep dive study on something, I don't want you to take it as gospel just because the author said it, right? I want you to question it to see if that is true for you and your experience. So in this series, there's 26 lessons. So be sure to like and subscribe to the channel right now so you're notified when the next lesson becomes available. And you're also going to want to be sure to check out the description box. Inside there, you're going to find a link to the show notes, the teaching video. I've got team meeting handouts for you, and I've got a bonus section called Biblical Alignment Check. And that's where we kind of take a deep dive study designed to help you evaluate whether the leadership principles that we're studying are in alignment with God's word. So let's lead with purpose and let's go ahead and get started. So the title for chapter one is If It's Lonely at the Top, You're Not Doing Something Right. Now, I want to attack that title right off the bat, okay? Because number one, as a leader, sometimes you may feel lonely, but for me as a leader, I'm never lonely because lonely basically implies that I need the validation of other people, that I need someone to hold my hand, that I need somebody to make me feel okay. And in truth, that's just not really how I feel. I actually enjoy the solitude, right? When you are a leader, sometimes you want that quiet space where you can think, because what you're doing as a leader is you're trying to figure out what the next step is. How are you going to lead your team to the place where you need to go, from where you are now to where you want to be? And that usually involves a mission and a vision that maybe you're the only one that has, right? So you need to have that time in solitude to be still, to be quiet, and to be able to think. So as a leader, I never feel like I'm lonely. The second thing that I want to take a look at there is where it says it's lonely at the top. Well, I've never felt like being a leader put me at the top. In fact, if anything, I feel like I'm at the bottom, right? Kind of holding up the whole thing, right? It's kind of more like Hercules or Atlas holding up the world. So when you're truly a leader, right, you're really at the bottom, and you are the one that is the framework. You're the foundation. You're the one that's holding this thing all together. So if it's lonely at the top, you're not doing something right. Yes, but also no. It really depends on your own individual experience. The other thing that I want to suggest here is just share a quick story here. The other day I was watching season 5 of the show that's on Amazon Prime right now. It's called The Chosen. And The Chosen is basically the life story of Jesus. And one of the things that I noticed in there was how frustrated that he got with his disciples, right? So he has these 12 disciples, and they don't quite understand him, right? He keeps teaching them lesson after lesson after lesson, and just when you think maybe they've got it, they don't, right? They come up with another question, they come up with another doubt, and they just don't have a very good understanding. So what does he do, right? When he gets frustrated with his team, that's exactly what he does. He actually goes off into the wilderness. He seeks isolation to pray on his own. And he literally tells his disciples, guys, listen, you guys hang back here, and I need to go pray. I need some time by myself. So you just keep guard, you just keep watch, and I'm going to go do this. Okay. So I think this is going to be a great discussion, and I think this is going to be good food for thought as you're going through in your reading some of what John has to say. Now, there are some key takeaways that I pulled out of this chapter. So let's go ahead and visit those. And this is what John has to say. And that now it's our opportunity to discern whether these are true for us or not. The first takeaway is real leaders take people with them. So leadership, according to John, isn't about just being out in front alone. It's about bringing others along with you. And this is one of my favorite quotes from John. It says, if you're in a leadership role, or you have a title as a leader, we'll talk about that in the next takeaway. But if you're in a leadership role and nobody's following you, then you're basically just going for a walk, right? You're out there by yourself. So you've got this title as a leader and you think you're a leader and this is what you're supposed to be doing. But really what you're doing is you're more managing people and managing your activity rather than you are leading them. Because if you're actually leading somebody, right, they're following you because they want to, not because they have to. So I love that. I love that quote, right? If you're in a leadership role and no one's following you, then you're basically just taking a walk. That hits hard, doesn't it? So sometimes what happens with leaders is leaders think they're up here somewhere, right? They're the ones who talk with the boss. They're the ones who, or they are the boss, and they're the ones who hold these leadership meetings. And then everybody else on the team is below them somehow. So they see themselves as spaced apart, being distant from the rest. But the thing is, with true leadership, the people, if I want to get people to follow me, it's really about inclusion. It's about collaboration. It's about connection. So if you're truly leading people, other people on your team, no matter where they are in the hierarchy, depending on how big your company is, they should always feel like they're right there with you. They're part of the process. They're not left behind. They're not a second thought. Key takeaway number 2 from John. Connection is more powerful than position. Connection is more powerful than position. So John emphasizes that leadership is about influence. It's not just about position or the title, right? Because just because you hold that title doesn't mean that you're effectively leading, right? I could slap a title on anybody and say, hey, John, you're in charge right now, okay? But if I can't get the people that I'm supposed to be leading to follow me, and I can't get them to buy into the mission and the vision, and they don't trust me, I'm not going to get anywhere. And sometimes that can create walls, especially if you just kind of rule with an iron fist and you pound your fist down and say, I'm the leader, you have to listen to me, or else you're going to get written up, right? I mean, we've all seen that happen before. But with connection, this is where you build trust. And trust is the real currency of leadership. So you want your people to feel like you're approachable, right? They want to feel like you need them to feel like they're connected to you in some way, and that you're not leading with that iron fist, but rather you're listening to what their needs are, but also that they're valued, that their contribution matters to the overall mission and vision that you're trying to achieve. Let's go to key takeaway number 3. People choose to follow leaders who care. True or not true? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. But I would say overall, generally, yes. If you're a leader who cares about his people, right? If you're constantly thinking about how can I lead these people? How can I bring them up? How can I teach them? How can I help them do their job better? Now they know that you care, right? You're not just that bottom line person, although the bottom line matters, right? I mean, if you're in a business and you're a leader of a business, the bottom line certainly matters. But the point is if you care about the person, right, just as much as you care about the numbers, when you care about the people will take care of you, and the people will take care of their responsibility towards the company and towards the mission statement. So let's take a look at this. And this would generally, what we need to look at is if you're in a leadership position right now and you just feel really, really disconnected from your people, why is that, right? How are we going to reconnect with our team? How do we start over? How do we get a redo, if you will, in order to start moving forward? So here's a few action steps for leaders according to John. And again, let's not take these as gospel. Let's consider whether or not these are going to be doable for you. All right. Number 1 is audit your circle. So you have to ask yourself, who am I bringing along with me? Are you the kind of leader who's solely focused on yourself and on your advancement? Or are you thinking to yourself, okay, who do I need? Who can I bring along with me? Right? Just kind of like what John F. Kennedy said, a rising tide raises all boats. So who am I bringing along with me? Are there people that I lead that I haven't connected with in a meaningful way in a long time? So pretty simple. You become like the people that you surround yourself with. The people that you surround yourself with will determine how well the people in your circle will determine how well you do as a leader, how you show up as a leader, and what you're able to accomplish. So you got to ask yourself those questions. Who's in my circle, and am I doing a good job connecting with those people? Number 2, John says, practice proximity leadership. So leadership from a distance is very sterile. Leadership up close, now that's powerful. How do we do that? Well, we get there, we roll up our sleeves and we get into the mix with our team, right? We walk the floor. We join the conversation. We participate in the meetings, right? You're not just off in a distance in boardroom meetings handing down directives, but you're right there, ground zero, right there, side by side with your people in the fight. So when you show up, they're going to show up. They're going to trust you. Number 3, ask more questions than the directives that you give. So sometimes leaders who feel alone, right, they think that they have to have all the answers. There's no way that I'm going to act like I don't know something, right? A lot of leaders will show up like that. So what they do is they just get louder, they get more vocal, and they're stern with their directions. Don't question me, right? Don't question me. Just do what I ask you to do, right? They may show up that way. But what we need to understand is that a great leader is going to flip the script. You're always going to be curious. You're always going to want to try to learn more. So you have to understand that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, right? So one of my favorite expressions is we're all stronger and smarter together. So if you're as a leader, if you really adopt that as a belief and you say, hey, we're all stronger and smarter together. I don't have all the answers. So I'm going to ask my team members. I hire them for a reason. Obviously, they're intelligent. They have skills that I need them to do. So obviously, they're capable people. So I'm going to ask my team not only what they need, what they see, how I can support them, but what ideas do you have? And you're going to be amazed at the answers that will follow. Number 4, lead with transparency. So vulnerability is a bridge, not a weakness. Again, we talked about this a while ago. The old style of leadership was never to show vulnerability, especially with men, right? You're just supposed to be like a rock. You're just supposed to be tough. But the more vulnerable you are, the more human you are, the more that you can share your challenges, and the more you can ask of your team how they can solve these things, the better. I know that when I'm having conversations with my kids, one of the things that I do regularly is when they're having a challenge, I share a story from my past when I was weak or when I was in that same situation so that they can understand and they can relate to me that I've been there, I've done that, I've got the t-shirt. That makes it a lot easier for them to identify who I was then at their age as compared to who I am now. So what I'm saying is here is let them know that you're human. And when you show up and you're real, your team will rally around you. Number 5, invest in relationships intentionally. Invest in relationships intentionally. One of my former mentors used to do this. He would schedule one-on-ones on a regular basis. Yes, we would have team meetings. Yes, we would go over statistics. Yes, we would practice, drill, and rehearse the things that we needed to do, but we also had one-on-ones. And one of the things that was really important is he would ask great questions about how life was outside of work, right? He connected on that personal level because we know that what happens outside of work also impacts how things are inside of work. So he showed up as a real person, showed that he cared, and that really grew our relationship. I was very, very close to him. And of course, I trusted him in that way. And honestly, I wouldn't be in the position that I am today if it wasn't for him. I was very, very fortunate that way. So final thoughts. Bring others to the top with you. Okay, now we talked about that at the beginning. I don't really believe a leader is at the top of anything. Again, I believe that the leader is really more the foundation. They're at the bottom holding everything up. So you're going to have to be really selective about who becomes part of that inner circle, right? It's your job as a leader to build up your bench strength, but you're looking for those mini me's. You're looking for those little acorns. You're looking for those people that are going to be able to replace you at some point. And that takes a lot of strength, right, in a leadership position. But basically what John's saying here is leadership done well is not a solo act, right? It's a team climb. It's a team ascent. So it's not you being up at the top of the mountaintop, but it's that shared struggle along the way. So basically, what we're looking at here, guys, is some deep reflection. And I think as we're going through these chapters, there's a lot of points that John makes that are just so good. But then life experience also steps in, right? And I know from my personal experience, I've owned my own business for 27 years at this point. I've been the leader of myself. I've been the leader of my family. I've been the leader of other people. And what I know is that my personal experience is different than yours, and it's different than other people that I've worked with in the past. So again, as we're going through this, what I'm looking for is for you to write down any takeaways, right? Any gold nuggets that you can take away from this. And even if there's just one thing that you can do, even if there's one question that you have to ask yourself, it will help you get you moving, right? So sometimes we're stuck in the muck and we just need that one idea, that one thought, that one question, that one thing that's going to help take our team from good to great. And I hope this was helpful to you. Now, if you enjoyed today's lesson, again, be sure that you go into the description box to grab the link to get the show notes, the team handouts, the worksheets, and I've got some great bonus material inside there for you. If you want the link directly, it's just billstorm.com/notes. And make sure you go ahead and download those now. And I'm looking forward to seeing you back for chapter 2.